Okay, here we've got a 97 Ranger Sport R77. I'm going to be doing my first ever stereo install in this. I've never installed a stereo in a vehicle before, so we'll see how it goes. All the stuff just came in the mail today. I've got a Boss MGR 350B round Bluetooth stereo, fully marinarized, it says, means waterproof. And then I've got a pair of Boss Audio 6x9s, 3-ways. And then in here is the boxes. They're going to go in standard cardboard 6x9 boxes. Don't laugh at me for ordering Boss stereo equipment. I know it's kind of funny, but hey, we got a bass boat here, so we're not going to go big on the stereo equipment, but it is going to sound good. And actually, this is a surprisingly good quality stuff for how little you have to pay for it. So just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's not good quality. I had two other boats that had Boss stereos that I had put in it, that I paid somebody to put in it, that is, and they all sounded good. So this one's going to sound good too. I'm just going to go with one head unit, and again, it's a round head unit, so it's going to go here. It's got a Lowrance flasher, and this doesn't work anymore. When I got the boat, it didn't work, and then one day I turned it on, and all of a sudden it started working. And then another day I turned it on, and then it didn't work again. So I'm going to assume that it doesn't work, and I don't use it anyway because I've got another fish finder here and one up there. So this is going to come out, and hopefully I have a 3.5-inch hole beneath this when I get done, like these are, because the head unit is designed to go in a 3.5-inch round hole. If I don't, I might have to cut some sort of plate for it or something, but we will see. It's going to go right there, which is a perfect location for a stereo control anyway. And then I've got a 400-watt amp that's an old used one that I'm going to put in. It's probably going to go underneath here on the kick plate wall there next to the fire extinguisher. And then I'm just going to run two 6x9s. One of them's going to go on the floor there, and one's going to go on the floor there. And I'm going to leave a lot of extra wire so that if I'm swimming, I can take the speakers out and put them on the deck, front or back deck. As you can see, the upholstery is out. I took the seats out and I took them to my upholstery guy because they were cracking. So this is a perfect time to install a stereo when some of the interior parts are missing. Also, it'll be easier to run the wires this way, and that seat won't be in the way right there. So let's get started. Alright, here we are below the steering console. There's a little bit more room to work under here than I thought there was going to be. Looks like we just have to take these two screws out and see if the thing falls apart. Didn't seem to be screwed on in the front very well. Wrong way. Gotta get the old broken fish depth finder flasher out before we can see if the stereo is going to fit. This should do the trick, but let's see. We might be able to reuse that bracket instead of the new one that came with the stereo, because it's already cut to the right length. Oh, look, it pops out the front. Nice. Alright, let's, yeah, we're gonna have to get some wires cut here, I guess. Alright, let's go around. Looks like it might just come right on out of here, minus the wires, of course, which are going to prevent it from moving. Alright. Okay, I unplugged the red and black power wires that were connected into the switch on this, and then I disconnected the transducer wire under there. And then there was one wire going from the unit itself to the switch that turned it on. I had to snip that because I don't really want to take the switch out because I don't have anything to put in its place. So it looks like this is ready to come out. Goodbye, old flasher. I'm sure these were popular back in the day, but not with some modern fish finding technology. They're not popular anymore. Maybe there's a nice fisherman in Minnesota who wants this. But probably not, because I don't think it works. After reading the installation instructions a little bit closer, the stereo head unit, of course, did not come with the required parts, which is an inline fuse holder and a 20 amp fuse. And it didn't come with either 12 or 14 gauge power wire. So I just had to make a quick stop to the store, and then I also bought some speaker wire. Actually, it was 3 stores. I went to 2 auto parts stores. One of them had the wire but not the fuse holder, and then the car stereo store had neither a fuse holder nor wire after the guy said they did, but then they have the speaker wire that I needed. So went to 3 stores and got 3 parts. Now I'm going to have to splice some wires together to put this fuse holder in before I can even attempt to install the head unit. Okay, I've got my power wires done. We've got a negative wire here, the black one, along with a battery terminal end to go on the top of the marine battery. And then here we've got the positive one. We've got a foot or 2 of wire, and then we've got our 20 amp inline fuse, and then we've got our other 18 feet of wire that we're going to run from the battery in the back of the boat to the head unit on the console. Okay, the next order of business here was to run the power wires from the dashboard all the way back here to the battery, which is back there. So I don't have a fish tape, so I compromised and I used a measuring tape, and I fit it back there, and I feel like I got pretty lucky because it landed all the way in the back of the boat right here where I need it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's in there. So all I have to do is fish it out of there, and then I can connect my wires to it and pull it back through the other way. Let's see how that works, or if it works. Alright, I just used my tape, metal coat hanger to pull the end of the tape measure all the way out of the battery compartment. Here's the other end. So I'm going to attach my power wires to the end of the tape measure and pull them back through the other way. My amp wiring kit has not come in the mail yet, so I'm going to also run one more either wire or string through there so that I don't have to do this again. In a couple days when that comes in the mail, all I have to do then is just connect the power wires from the amp to a string or some sort of wire that I already have running through here and pull it through. Luckily this was a little bit easier than I thought. I thought it was going to take me an hour, but it only took 7 or 8 minutes. So that's a time saver.
Next thing that we use.
Okay, I've got a little helper here. This is Kelsey. Alright, and so I've got my 2 wires, a power wire and a ground wire and a pink string, all connected to the end of this tape here. It's a measuring tape, and then it's going to go all the way around and down and through. I'm going to pull it through that way. That way when I get my amp kit in the mail in a few days, I'll have an extra pink string in there and I can attach it to the other wire and pull it back through. So we're going to pull it through this way now, and hopefully it works. Kelsey's going to feed the wire to me when I pull. Alright. I got it. I got it.
You want me to drop it?
Yeah, you can let go now. Alright. So, we made it all the way through. Okay, bye. Thanks for helping. Alright, so I got it through the hard part here. It should be easy to tuck it up underneath this rail, but we'll see. Alright, this is day 2 of the Bass Boat stereo installation. I was hoping to finish this last night, but I took my daughter to the father-daughter dance instead, so that didn't happen. The amp kit, the amp wiring kit that I ordered from Amazon did not come in the mail. I got an email saying they aren't going to send it to me and they're going to refund my money because the seller ran out of them. So I'm going to have to drive to my local Walmart a few miles away to get some. To get an amp wiring kit. However, we got some snow last night and they haven't cleared our roads off yet, so I'm not going to be able to go to Walmart yet. But I can keep still working on the head unit, which is over there. All I have to do is wire it up, and I want to see if it powers on. Then we'll start working on the amp installation. Here we go. The wiring on the back of the head unit is actually pretty straightforward. I'm happy with how simple it is. All of these wires that I've taped up here are speaker wires, which you would use if you were going to wire the head unit directly into your speakers. But I've got an El Cheapo amp over here that I'm going to use, so I'm not going to be using all these speaker wires. I'm going to make them look a little bit cleaner than that in a minute. But so here we've got USB plugs. This one here says rear line out or sub out. That's the rear channel. And this one here with the gray wires is the front channel. Not going to worry about that yet until we hook the amp up. This one here would be for an auxiliary input in if you wanted to plug your phone or iPod in with and a 3.5 millimeter jack. You would plug the other end into those, so we're not going to worry about that. The important part here is the power, and we've got the black wire, which is your ground. It's got to be grounded to a battery, and then the yellow one is actually the positive on this, which is unusual. You would think red would be positive. Here's the red one. My directions say that the red one is the aux connection, which means you can connect it to a switch, or like a power cutoff switch. So these are actually my positive and negative wires. Yellow positive, black negative. Okay, I made 3 electrical connections. This positive here is running back to the battery. What channel? Probably can't see that because of the light. Let's move the light. Move the light. Alright, so got positive to the battery, we got ground to the battery, and then the auxiliary wire coming out of the back of the head unit is now connected to this auxiliary switch, which also powers the fish finder. So we turn that on, and then we press the power button, and look at that, the head unit comes on. That's exactly what we wanted. Now I did also try to use the second auxiliary button right here that's not connected to anything, but I couldn't get this button to work at all, so I just went ahead and connected the aux wire for the head unit to the same button that the fish finder is on. And then we can also turn the fish finder on at the same time. Yep. Alright, so we've got power. Next is to go get an amp wiring kit so we can connect the amp and then connect the speakers to the amp. I unboxed the speakers and installed the 6x9s into the speaker boxes while I was watching a football game. It took about a half hour just because I wanted to be meticulous about getting the wires for the speakers into the terminal posts right there. I also had to find some wood screws because the speakers came with some kind of tiny little bolts, because I guess they're going to assume you're going to put them in a car, but they had to go into these wood boxes, so it took me a while to find screws. The other thing I did was picked up an amp wiring kit from Walmart. The problem with this amp wiring kit and all the other ones is that they only give you 2 feet of ground wire because they assume you're going to put it in a car, not a boat. So you would attach the ground wire to any old metal surface that you could find in a car, which would be located less than 2 feet away from the amp. But in a boat, it can't. There's not really too many metal surfaces to attach it to. So it's really got to go have 8-gauge wire going all the way back to the battery, negative battery terminal post, just like the 8-gauge power wire. You can't use smaller wire, I don't think. So we're going to have to get some more 8-gauge wire or string some together so that this will work correctly. Okay, since they only gave me, again, 2 feet of ground wire, I took this piece of 4-gauge wire that I already had and I spliced it together with another piece of 8-gauge wire, which is over there, and I've ran the amp power wire and ground wire back here to the battery area. That's the ground, and this one is the power. I went all the way under there. I pulled it through with the pink string that I ran earlier. It was pretty easy. And then over there, my wires have come out that way, and they are ready to be hooked up to the amp. And we're on to day 36 of the Bass Boat stereo installation. It's dark out. This is Plan B. Plan A was to use a 400 watt SPX El Cheapo amp that I had, but the Allen wrench connections, 5 out of the 7 of them were stripped, so I couldn't get them undone. Now, this amp used to be mine, and I gave it to a friend of mine. It was in my 18-foot Sea Ray for several years, but I gave it away, and then my friend was nice enough to give it back to me because he realized he wasn't really ever going to use it for anything. A 250 watt Sony 2-channel amp. So this amp has been resurrected from the dead. It's a good amp. It used to run my 10-inch sub in my Sea Ray. But now we're going to use it to run 2 6x9s. Day 99 of the Bass Boat stereo installation. I've got the amp connected to my trolling motor battery positive. I've got the ground connected to my trolling motor battery negative. I've got the head unit connected positive to the cranking battery, and the negative wire connected to the black on the cranking battery. Turn the fuse box on. Turn on this auxiliary switch right here that the radio is connected to. The head unit just powered on, and as a bonus, it even connected by Bluetooth to my phone. So we're going to play some non-copyrighted music here to see if it works. Oh yeah! Okay, now just another few hours to hide the wires. Yeah, I said few hours. I might be that particular. Gotta hide all the wires, and I gotta screw the amp underneath here to the kick panel, or whatever you call that. The other 6x9 is gonna go under there. This one's gonna stay under here, and I've got enough wire wired to each one so that if I want to go swimming and listen to the stereo, I can pull the speakers out from under there and put them up here on the front or back deck. Okay, this is day 116 of the boat stereo installation. This morning I wired the amp, or I attached the amp to the back up here with some screws. And then I used the middle bracket that came with the stereo to secure it into the dashboard so it can't move around. It took me a couple tries because this rubber gasket kept getting caught in the hole because the hole's a little bit bigger than the stereo is. So I wanted to make sure it came out nice and even all the way around so it looks good, and on the 3rd or 4th try I got it. The middle bracket that holds it in is kind of like this one, which is the one that came off of the depth finder that was on the boat, but it's just a metal bracket and it goes into the back of the head unit, and it goes on there with 2 really small bolts. So got that done. The head unit is secure, the amp is up. Last project here is to hide all these wires so that there's nothing sitting on the floor. And the stereo installation project was a success. Everything is in correctly and it works to my satisfaction. It got the head unit there. There's a 6x9 there. There's a 250 watt Sony amp right there to power both speakers. And then the other speaker is over here on the passenger side.